The thumbnail of this video tells you that I worked for free to pay off gambling debt, and that's absolutely true. The last day that I was gambling, I created enough debt in one 12-hour sitting that it took 5.5 months worth of double shifts just to pay it off. That was a terrible time in my life, and I didn't enjoy a single moment of working to pay that off. But up until that point, whenever I had debt, I would just gamble more to try to pay it off. And that last time, that's what created the worst of my debt, was that I figured there was a way out of the situation by continuing to do more gambling. And if you trap yourself into that, you're going to hit the point where you lose too big of a number to ever recoup it. Let me walk you through a scenario. You finally get that big win that you've been chasing gambling, and now you're back to even. You previously had a bunch of debt, and you told yourself, I'll stop when I finally get even, because gambling is the only way that I can make this money back. What do you do now? Do you actually stop? If you're anything like me, getting even because of gambling just means that you can place more bets now because the pressure's off. So really, it's just this endless cycle where you're gambling to make money, then you're gambling to get the money back that you had just lost, and then you get into so much debt that the only way that you can get that money back is by gambling more. It doesn't quite make logical sense when you spell it out like that, but it's the way I was living my life for a very long time. My name is Rob, and I'm a recovering compulsive gambler. I made my last bet on November the 12th of 2022. Now I create content here on YouTube to help you to learn more about gambling addiction and to get into recovery for it if you want to quit. Now, why am I outside? Because I bought this microphone and I wanted to use it at some point. And it's a nice day, so I thought I'd take the time, change the background, and see what we had going on here. This idea that we can fix all of our money problems by gambling is very, very dangerous because it becomes a slippery slope. Once you get into enough debt, it can feel really overwhelming, and you think that gambling is your only way out. This false belief that we have as problem gamblers, or if you're not a problem gambler and you're still viewing it this way, maybe you're just new to gambling, is that no matter how bad things get, we can always bail ourselves out with a big win. Now, if you're familiar with what a support group is, one of the main things that they say in a 12-step support group meeting is that bailouts are detrimental to our recovery. Now, what's the actual reason for this? It's because if we get bailed out, if we convince ourselves that one big gambling win will fix everything, and then it does for the meantime, we actually start to think that no matter how bad things get, there's always going to be a way out by risking more and gambling more. This idea that we can dig ourselves out of any hole that we make will eventually get to the point where we just can't escape. As gamblers, we think that we have a way out of every situation. We are very resourceful, very intelligent people, and typically we have a lot of confidence in ourselves. But when you get into enough debt because of gambling, one more loss could be the difference between bankruptcy and going homeless and being able to live a happy and healthy life. And when that's the case, you're way too deep into it, and you need to recognize that it will always end up this way. Now, what is the real solution? It's not pretty, and it's not something that people like to talk about. But the only way out of this situation permanently is through hard work, because then we learn our lesson. Now, people will comment on my posts and say, why don't you just bet 2 times your losses and make that money back like really fast? And what I'll tell them is that works until it doesn't. It's actually a typical strategy that people employ in the casino called the martingale strategy. It's the idea that you keep doubling your bet until you break even or win. But that's why table limits are there, because eventually you get to the point where you can't double your bet. This is kind of like a metaphor for gambling itself, because when you get into enough debt, you get to the point where one more loss really could screw up the rest of your life, and it's not a good thing. Within one 12-hour sitting, I created enough debt that it took me 5.5 months worth of double shifts as a bartender and a financial analyst to pay off. Now, just as a quick aside, let me tell you about exactly what happened that last day that I was gambling. So leading up into it, I had moved to Philadelphia with some of my friends, and things were going really well. I'm from New Jersey, so when I went over there, I technically went to a different state, the state of Pennsylvania, and everything was fine. It was all chill. And then one day I saw a commercial for a sports book, and I remembered that, hey, oh, I'm in a different state. When I filled out my self-exclusion forms in February of 2022, I did them for New Jersey. Now, if you're not familiar with self-exclusion, that's basically telling the casino, hey, I don't want to play here anymore, don't allow me to play here anymore, and then you're banned. And that's a good way to get away from gambling if you're trying to quit. But in the United States, each state has their own self-exclusion program. There's no national register for a casino self-exclusion. So I didn't do it for Pennsylvania. I immediately realized that after seeing the commercial. I guess, I don't know how I didn't notice it before, but whatever. And within 12 hours, I was gambling on sports. I had won a game, and I immediately felt very guilty because I had been going to 12-step support group meetings for that entire year. So I wanted to get that money out and then do the self-exclusion in Pennsylvania right away. And I felt like I betrayed the guys in the group and myself. So with that guilt, I tried to immediately withdraw the money, but the casino that I was using had a withdrawal period. So it was going to be about 48 hours until it came out, and the entire time I could cancel the withdrawal. So I had the bright idea like, hey, I'm going to go into the casino that they're partnered with and get it as a cash withdrawal at the cashier's desk so that I can get this done immediately. And as it would turn out, they had the exact same rule at the cashier's desk, so I wasn't going to be able to get that money for at least another 24 hours. So, I had taken an Uber over to the casino, and I thought to myself, man, I just spent all that money trying to get here. No harm, no foul in just spending what I had just made, right? Because I didn't feel like I deserved that money, so if I lost it, then maybe I was getting what, I deserved, which was nothing. And within about an hour, maybe less, I lost it all. And then I started the cash advances on my credit card. And if you know anything about cash advances, they carry a very hefty fee and a hefty APR rate. So after about another 10 hours of playing casino games, poker, sports betting, all the whole lot, I created enough debt, that it took me that 5.5 months worth of double shifts to pay off. I was drinking the entire day, and then there were certain times during that day where I'd actually think that I dropped money, so I'd get stressed out and go around looking for it. And it's actually kind of ironic that looking back, I was worried about dropping and losing money, but not worried about playing the casino games where I was statistically going to lose it anyway. It's just kind of ironic to look at it that way, I guess. But yeah, at the end of the night, I was holding this huge wad of cash and counting it in the bathroom. And when I counted it up, I was amazed that I had so much, and yet I had lost so much that day. It was just a terrible feeling that I really don't want to experience again. But that last day just made me realize the severity of the problems that I was causing in my own life. And when 99% of the problems in your own life are self-inflicted, that can be really bad for your ego, your mental health, obviously, and just all aspects of your life. I was ruining friendships, relationships, and my own perception of myself, chasing after something that I didn't even need. I was financially fine. I had enough money if I'd just not been gambling, but I always wanted more. It was the disease of wanting more, and I don't wish that on anyone. So if you're struggling with it, you're definitely not alone. But I'm gonna get back into the video right now. Now, this idea of money moving really quickly is what's so alluring about gambling, right? You can have these big wins very quickly, but we don't like to talk about or think about the fact that we can have losses just as fast. And for me, that was something that I always ignored. I pushed to the side. And then that very last day, the losses started to pile up to the point where I said, oh my God, if I take another loss, or rather, I can't even take another loss. It doesn't make fiscal sense for me to continue to play right now. And that is when I said, oh my God, I'm not going to make this situation better by gambling more. That's how long it took me. It took me 6 years of doing that before I was finally willing to admit to the fact that, hey, gambling's not a sustainable way to make money. When you have to work pretty much every day, turning out to be around 80 hours a week, and you don't get to keep a single dime of that because you're putting it right back into debt repayment that you made by trying to win more money, you begin to realize how ridiculous this actually is. So even if you're not addicted to gambling, you may have this belief that you could strike it rich, you could hit it big. But the truth is that the odds are always stacked against you. And if you keep going back to the bet, it will eventually backfire on you, and you will not make a profit in the long run. And there's going to be people out there that tell you, hey, buy my picks, sign up for my casino, you're going to make money, this is going to be great. That's not what happens when you keep gambling. You know what percentage of casino profits come from people who are responsible gamblers? 4%. You know what percentage of casino profits come from people who get addicted to gambling? 86%. This is a conversation that I want to keep having. Do you think that gambling is a way to make money? Let me know down below in the comments because I'm really curious to see what the community thinks. Additionally, if you found this video helpful, please drop a like on it. And if you want to learn the truth about gambling, the truth about gambling addiction, and what's going on in the casino industry, smash that subscribe button because I'm going to be taking a deep dive into so many of these topics in upcoming videos. I know that it's difficult to come to terms with the fact that something that we love may be something that's hurting us. But if you are in that boat, you're not alone. There are millions of people out there struggling with this problem right now, and I'm one of them. I'm putting a voice to the problem for you. So I know that we can keep getting better together, but all of that happens one day at a time.